Hello, welcome to Startup Dad headquarters. This is Joel Lewis, and we're coming to you live from Google Hangout. This is the official launch of Startup Dad, and today I have a wonderful panel of entrepreneur dads that are with us today, and we're going to be talking about fatherhood, business, and life. So again, welcome, and to all the dads that are out there that are watching, and to my panel members, happy Father's Day. Glad to
Happy
have you
Father's
guys on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy Father's Day. Thanks.
Likewise.
All right, great. So this is going to be a unique event. We're going to be doing this via Google Hangout. For some of us, it's the first time doing this. And with all live events online, there may be some technical difficulties. So please bear with us. If you do happen to drop off, just come back onto the Hangout, and we'll be waiting for you on the broadcast. All right, so let's get a little introduction going on real quick, guys. We can't, we only have an hour of time, so we can't get too deep into each person's story. But I wanted to give a little intro to each person, so so the audience could get a chance to know who you are and what you're about before we get into the discussion topics. So why don't we go ahead and we'll start with the ambassador of ambassador, Ambassador Bruni.
Hey. Thank you so much for having me, Joel. I'll keep it brief. People know me as Mike Ambassador Bruni. Soon I will be known as Emerson's dad. So that's my son. I have my first child, first kid, first son. He is 10 weeks old. So that's the dad part of me. Outside of that, kind of the business side of me, if you've ever heard the term where people say you never get a second chance to make a first impression, well, basically what I do is I help working professionals set up an impression that lasts, a lifetime, and that's through personal branding, so they can have more impact, more connections, and just have more opportunities at work. I'll stop there.
Nice. So why don't we go over to James Lopez there? James, hit us up.
Oh, thank you for having me, Joel. I'm James Lopez. I run the site, thefatstartup.com, where we aim to show the correlations between hip hop and business. I'm also a dad. I have two kids, one that's 7, going to be 8, and another one that's 1, that's going to be 2. So I've been dealing with this presence over presence life for a while now, and just trying to boss up and do the right thing.
That sounds great. Thanks for being with us, James.
Thank you.
Let's go over to my man Brian Shea, joining us from where are you, Brian? In Maine today?
No, I'm actually in Massachusetts. I came back
you
just
were
for
back.
this.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks for having me, Joel. So my name is Brian Shea. About 2 years ago, I started a company called Shea Consulting LLC. We help companies build operations to match their strategic initiatives, like starting new products and acquiring new companies and scaling. So in addition to that, like Joel said, I live in Massachusetts with my beautiful wife and 2-year-old daughter. Thanks, Joel.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Nice and brief and to the point. What about How? Why don't you jump in there, How Chen?
Thanks, Joel. I'm a dad to a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. And on the business side, I'm a co-founder of a tech startup called Apitronics. We do remote monitoring technology on farms.
All right. Great. Thanks, How. Glad to have you, man. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
All right. And joining us from Tewksbury, Mass. at Relaxercise Fitness, we got my man Edmund Araya. Why don't you
Hey
go ahead?
everybody. Thanks a lot for having me, Joel. Happy Father's Day to everybody out there. Myself, as the father part, is I got 2 beautiful daughters, 13 and 7. Tough. And the business side of me, I'm a corporate dad as well as a trying to do this entrepreneur thing. So right now I kind of do a little bit of both. I do work for a big corporate company right now, but getting my hustle in and trying to start up my Relaxercise fitness spa where I got a great partner, my wife, and we both, she does the beauty part where she does the spa services, and I work on the fitness part with classes and personal training and all that. So that's my story in a minute or two.
All right, thank you, Edmund. And Edmund is joining us from his sister's house. You had a barbecue, so taking the time to join us. So his connection is a little bit fuzzy, but we can hear you pretty good, Edmund. That's what it's all about. All right. So you're good to go. So let's wrap it up with save the best for last, right? Premium Pete.
Hey, how are you guys? Thanks for, definitely inviting me to join the panel. It's funny because it's like I like listening to everybody introduce themselves. And I remember 14 years ago when I became a father, I was lost. I was like, there was no Google Hangout. There was nobody helping out, no startup dad, no presence over presence, no nothing. So, I'm just a passionate dad that has been raising a kid. It's been a roller coaster ride, but it's been one of the best rides I've ever been on. So, I've been able to mix my life and follow my dreams, and also, be a fan of my daughters. So it's been special.
That's awesome, Pete. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now, guys, getting into the conversation. So I want this to be more of a kind of like an open dialogue, open chat, where the folks that are watching feel like they're kind of sitting in and kind of joining a conversation amongst a couple of dads talking about fatherhood, where we'll kind of, that'll be our jump off spot, then working into entrepreneurship, and then just life in general, right? And I think Pete kind of touched on it a little bit there. It's just, there's a lot of challenges out there. When he started way back when, there wasn't all these resources that are available to small business owners, to entrepreneurs, to dads who wanted to make a difference and kind of start their own business. But these opportunities are available now. You have this wonderful panel of entrepreneur dads today, and I want to kind of share some of the stories and have a conversation about your journey, how you got to where you are, and how you make the decision to go into entrepreneurship, which can be very, very scary. But before that, let's get into the fatherhood aspect of that. There was a commercial. I'm not sure if you guys had a chance to check it out, and anyone in the audience, but recently Dove Men Plus Care came out with a commercial, very, very similar to the P&G commercials that were running during the Olympics. What was that, earlier this year, the Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics, it was Winter Olympics last year, I'm sorry. And but those commercials were regards to focused on moms, right? Moms are wonderful, and then let me put that out there first. Startup dad. We're gonna be talking about fathers a lot, and it's not to take anything at all away from the super moms that exist, right? Without the moms, we'd be in a lot of trouble, right, guys? Our wives do some amazing things. Just having birth and going through those 9 months, it's a blessing and a miracle in itself. So I just wanted to kind of set that upright because I did get some tweets from some people throughout the week, and you know how it is. People are gonna respond to certain things, and hey, moms do this all the time. What are you talking about? Be quiet. Got all those kind of things. Like, just kind of let those, brush those off your shoulder and keep moving. But the person's right. Mom does, they do it all the time. But we want to talk about the super dads that are making it happen all the time as well. So Dove came out with this commercial where it's showing these very small clips. It's about a 1-minute commercial. If you Google Dove Men Plus Care, it'll come right up, and it's showing these really quick clips of fathers interacting with their children, and you hear the children saying "Daddy this" and "Daddy that," and one kid is trying to learn how to swim. The one that really connected with me is the one where the dad is sitting on the toilet and he's trying to brush his daughter's hair, and she's kind of like moving her hair all around the place, and he can't keep it still. I have 3 girls, so I definitely connected with that. But it's really the essence of the video is showing how the new dad, the engaged entrepreneur dad, or not entrepreneur, the engaged dad, modern dad of today, is involved and trying to take care of their children as much as moms. So it was a very touching commercial, and I want to kind of take that as the jump off spot for our conversation. What do you guys think about that? The whole notion of dads that are engaged, that are not just going to work, and then coming home at the end of the day and kind of very limited interaction with their children. And I know Pete and James have the hashtag presence over presence. So why don't you guys jump off, James and Pete? Why don't you guys jump in there and kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. I guess I'll go first. For me, being engaged with my kid, it brings the best out of them. Like I remember when I was younger, my dad, he was always there for me. Would take me to the park, play basketball, learn all these cool things that dads teach you. But he never used to go to any of my award ceremonies, graduations, things like that, and that always stuck with me. So I decided that I wanted to change that up a little bit, and I wanted to go to every recital that my son had, every soccer game. I will go. I will drop whatever I'm doing to make sure that I'm there. Because I feel that as a child, you grow up loving your dad. Your dad is like the superhero. But if the superhero's not there, who does that default to? Who gets that privilege of being called super dad or their superhero? So I want to make sure that I spend as much time with my kids as possible. And business is just secondary to that. It's just super important. You got to spend time with your kids. Forget about the Jordans. Spend time with your kids.
Nice.
Yeah. That's really Pete right there. Pete is the man for presence over presence, man.
No, I mean, it's funny because you touched on a couple of things. You touched on one is a father being in a household, working, and then coming home. Of course, he wants to come home to see his kids and his wife, but sometimes you don't want to see your kids or your wife, when you live there all the time, and you want to watch the football game. Monday Night Football's on, and so I have lived multiple lives. I've lived being in a household, and coming home and hearing my daughter talk and walk, and it was beautiful. And then when I got divorced, it was so much different because it was like I had to work and then also try to find time for her and anything I had going on, and you think about this day at the time, when I just had my kid, say I was working 5 or 6 days a week, then you got to find time for your kid, and then you're tired. Next thing you know, it's work. But if you listen to everything I just said, I never mentioned anything about having time for myself. So sacrifice is a big thing. I've been on all aspects of a father. Being there, being divorced, being away from them for a long time due to being young and stupid. And so what I learned is we're guilty as parents sometimes. Whether we're with the wife or as a family or we're not, we're guilty. So we try to sometimes we feel like maybe we're not doing enough or we're working too much. That's where presence over presence came from, because it was like, like me and my daughter, since she was young, we seen, I swear to you, maybe about, say, 500 movies in a movie theater. And I know she'll remember, and she's not going to remember 500 movies, but she'll remember that we always went to the movies. She's not going to remember the American Girls and the Barbie dolls that I bought her. She's not going to remember all those, but she's going to remember the time I spent with her. And that's what's important, is that presence.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome. So, Mike, as a new dad, you're just 3 months, Emerson, just getting into, the whole aspect of dad life. Why don't you share a little bit with us what being a new dad means to you, right? I talked about this with a couple of you guys. This year actually made 40-year anniversary of the television show Little House on the Prairie. If you guys remember that growing up, I might be dating myself, I'm not sure. But in that show,
Laura Ingalls.
with that show, Michael London, he used to, he'd wake up early in the morning. Technology didn't even exist then. He would kind of walk. I don't know, something ridiculous like 100 miles or something crazy. Maybe not that crazy, but just to go to work. By the time he comes back home, like Pete was mentioning, he's tired. Basically, the wife has a list of who did what and who's in trouble, and then he would go reprimand that person, and then kind of like the next episode would show up. Or I was watching a Fox News report this week, and they were talking about how the dads never, in the past, the dads weren't even in the delivery room. They were outside. They'd wait to hear a baby cry. The doctor will come out and they'll say, "Hey, you have a boy or you have a girl." he'll light up a cigar or something like that with some friends, and that kind of was dad life back then. But Mike, why don't you tell us about your experience that you just recently have, with Emerson?
Yeah, thanks, Joel. It's so different, especially when I hear about the way it used to be, because I was in the delivery room. I was a coach. I was like, come on, Bush, we're gonna do this. Come on, talk to Emerson. So it's so different. My wife ended up having a C-section, and I was so I was like one of the first people to hold Emerson, and it was like that was my job. And I don't know what it would be like to have a daughter, but there's something that came to me about like having a son. All of a sudden, it felt like there was this thing about legacy and about I must pass on some kind of golden rules or something to little Emerson. But it's definitely different. I've been able actually to take a lot of my work experience and the way that I kind of look at things and work and apply it to being a dad, because in every situation I'm like, all right, do we have all the tools that we need? And of course you can't anticipate everything, but it's like, do we have all the stuff? Do we have the diaper? We have this, we have that, we have this. Right. And I was the first one to learn how to change the diaper and then come up with my own way of doing it. I was the first one to learn how to swaddle. So it's a little bit different because pretty much I was showing mom how to do a lot of this stuff. Because I was there, she was tired. So that's been my experience, is that it's, excuse me, it's that being involved is unbelievable. Being a new dad, patience, having patience, all those type of things is really been my experience.
Yeah, definitely. So let's open it up to a couple of other panel members. So what does it mean to be a dad for you guys? We could have Brian jump in, or Hal. Just jump in. What does it mean, to be a dad? And I think as you guys define that and people see what it means to you, just like Mike just kind of brought it out, I think people will start to see that the new dad wants to be involved. The new dad is willing to learn. The new dad wants to be engaged and kind of in the trenches while everything is happening. So why don't you guys jump in and kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me, kind of going back to the question that you asked James and Pete. How does the balance between fatherhood and work, how to kind of reconcile those two things? And I know for me, very soon after my daughter was born 2 years ago, I made the decision. Prior to that, I had been really thinking hard about, do I want to start a business? Do I want to keep working at the company that I was working at? And I decided, very clearly, very, very soon after she was born, like the next day, I was like, I really want to start this business, because for a whole bunch of reasons. But one of them was to kind of set that example of going after things that you want to go after, rather than just sort of sitting back and being more passive. And there was a whole bunch of other reasons on top of it, for income reasons, for the ability to kind of balance and have a more flexible schedule. But that idea of really of providing that example was huge, because when my daughter's 2 now. When she gets a little bit older, I'm going to tell her that she can do whatever she wants in the world, and it would be hard for me to say that to her if I wasn't doing what I wanted to do in the world. Do you know what I mean? It was an important, very important piece for me. So, and I think, Joel, going back to your question, that's so much of what fatherhood is for me. It's about caring for my daughter, caring for my wife, and also trying to not just talk the talk, but walk the walk, and really do try to be an example to them.
Nice.
I think
that's
Go ahead,
important that he says that, because I want to say that's important that he says that, and I just want to touch on that real quick, because he says when you show them, and eventually they'll see what you do, and it's great to see that when you're following your dreams, or you're working hard to do these things, you're a great role model for them, and it's like we'll tell them, like I learned over all these years, I learned with my daughter, you tell them, but really it's what they see. And I remember, like, I smoked Newports cigarettes for 17 years, and I remember about like 4.5 years ago, I remember she used to tell me, like, when are you going to quit? When are you going to quit? When are you going to quit? And I was like, yeah, soon. You know, people ask you when you're going to quit, and you say, yeah, soon, soon. Give me another cigarette, you know. And I remember her distinctively telling me, you know, well, how are you going to tell me to do something if you can't do it yourself?
Mm.
And I was like, what? And I felt like, as much as I love those morning cigarettes, those, you know, after eating cigarettes, and, you know, whatever else cigarettes, but, you know, I said to myself, you know, I have to step up and show, you know, like show and tell, like, you know, like what you're saying, it's great that you get that as such a, you know, being, you know, to a 2-year-old, you know, show and tell. And I haven't smoked in 5 years, you know, almost 4.5, 5 years. So, you know, and so, you know, it's great to show that to your kid. And I like the way you touched on that, because it's very important, you know, to show them and show them and show them, because eventually what they see is what they'll do and what they'll learn.
Nice.
Yeah, you gotta lead by example, right? You know, beyond being a good dad,
Yes.
you need to show them that you're a good human being, and you know, this is how you act. And finding that balance between being a good dad and, you know, being a good person and, you know, doing well in business, they're all just different hats that you have to wear. You know, there's probably a minimum of, okay, below this you are sucking at a dad, and then, you know, maybe way up here you're being a helicopter dad and you're over nourishing your kid, but somewhere in between, that's optimal. And you just have to be okay with whatever you're providing. You know, wherever you're at, some people are going to say, you know, wow, I don't know, I would spend more time with my kids. And other people would think the sun is shining out of your ass for doing everything you're doing. So you just got to be okay with yourself. It's all about the mental attitude and not worrying about, you know, oh, should I have done this? Should I have done that? Spend that energy on either building up your business or spending time with your kids.
Mm.
He's
Oh, go ahead, James. Go ahead, James.
Oh, I was gonna say I love what Al just said, and it plays off of what Ambassador Bruni was saying, or Mike as we know him. You know, leaving that legacy, because when you want to leave that legacy and you want to start a company and deal with the family and a company, you're gonna get different advice from different people. Like, some family members are gonna look at you like, no, you as a dad, you have to maintain the household. How can you leave a high-paying job to start a company that might not work? But to you, you know what you're doing, which is you're trying to create that legacy for your child that you won't create working a regular 9 to 5. So finding that balance and telling people, hey, you know what? I am the dad. I'm going to listen to some of your advice, but ultimately it's up to me. I know what I'm doing. Finding that balance and sticking to it has to be one of the toughest things out there.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have everybody knocking you for, you know, some people are going to say you're doing great, while others are going to say, no, you're not the typical dad. Go make some money. You know, it kind of sucks.
So let me. There's a question we got from the audience, and it kind of ties in well to what we're talking about. So let me bring that up before. I know, Brian, you want to jump in there. So I'll bring the question up right now. Hopefully everyone can see it. Can you guys see the question?
That one that says, how are you going?
All right, so it's not showing up. Of course, technology never works out the way it's supposed to. It was working great last night when I tested this out with Brian. But here's the question: for those on the panel, what is your tip for finding the balance between your entrepreneurial efforts and your family life? This is coming from Jeremy, and Jeremy is the founder of the Final Clock Out podcast. Jeremy Montoya, sorry.
I think, like James was saying, it's one of those challenges that's always going to be a challenge. What I'm actually thinking back to, Mike, is when we did a bunch of us who were on this did the 10K on 10-1 campaign and webcast about almost a year ago now. And one of the guests on it that Mike interviewed was Pam Slim, who's an entrepreneur, consultant, writer, speaker. And the day that she was on the interview, I think Mike, you asked a question about her being a mother, and she said, well, actually, today is my daughter's birthday, and I'm away from home. And And what Pam said is, that's always a challenge. There's always decisions that you have to make. Are you going to do, the business event over, a kid thing, or are you going to make a hard decision and do the family event over the business opportunity? And it's one of those things, James, I think you said it the best, is you got to make a decision and you got to be good about it, feel good about it, and sort of go with it. And you can't beat yourself up, second guessing after the fact. But I think if you do it with the right intention and you communicate with those around you, whether it be your family, your wife, your kids, or your business partners, and tell them why you're doing a certain thing, and give them an opportunity to talk and communicate back, I think that's a good place to start. But also knowing that it's never going to be perfect, and you got to kind of make choices and sort of be good with them.
Yeah, I think that's 100% spot on right there with finding the balance. You never find the balance. I was talking with Premium a couple days ago, and he told me the best thing that I've heard in a while from a dad, which is you don't find the balance. You're trying to find a way to make it better, because you're never ever balancing it out. It's just impossible. So you just got to be good at having that time and making the most out of that time when you have it.
Mm. Yeah, I like to talk about like balancing, but who knows? Having 10 weeks in, talk to me 10 weeks later, it might be different, right? so I hold that lightly. That lightly, people.
He's still on weeks. Talking about weeks.
I'm still on. I haven't converted to years or even talking months.
How old is your child?
Hey, that's a special moment. That's a special moment.
Thank you.
I with respect to you, because I have a friend that when his kid was born, she's 4 now, but when his kid was born, he was running and hiding. I was like, man, because he was like, he didn't know how to like handle the a lot of fathers stray away at a young age, like meaning like they're there but they're not there. Like they don't know how to hold the baby. The head is all bobbling, it's screaming, it's yelling. They're more for looking for someone to do things with, and they got to realize that So I like when I see fathers, get into it at a young age and help out, and because some dads expect the wife to only get up and do things. I was divorced when my daughter was 2 years old. So I mean, when she ate a blue crayon, I had blue poop to wipe up. It was everything. My friends were going to the club. I was changing diapers, and but listen, I respect that you're really, like I said. Take the time and enjoy what's going on, because it flies. Mm-hmm. It flies.
And it gets harder every day. It never changes. There's always a new challenge there when it comes to kid. I mean, a kid poops in a diaper. Wait till he poops in your hand. Like he's just staying.
Or on the carpet.
Or on the carpet.
Again? You mean again?
Again? Yeah. Like my son now. My son is gonna be 2 years old. He's taking off his diaper and peeing in the corner of the house. The house. It's like, how do I stop that?
Well, remember what we're talking about, James. Right? You gotta show them. You gotta stop.
I'm so scared he'll take my iPhone and throw it in the toilet, man. I don't know.
But I will say with the balance topic, I think that those of you that are married and that have a significant other in your life, and I think it's important to have someone that believes in you as much as you believe in yourself, and believes in your vision and believes in your dream. I know a lot of people. I'm blessed to have someone that believes in me, so we can work together and really try to build, because when you have to worry about somebody's time or feelings or emotion, it's hard to run businesses like that. You have to have somebody that believes in that light at the end of the tunnel and believes in the bigger picture, and doesn't get mad at you if you're not home at a certain time, or it's going to be trials and tribulations. But I think that if you have somebody that's on the same page as you, that believe in you, and when you have the time to take with your kids, you spend it with your kids and you do things. Like I know a lot of people that work even their own businesses 7 days a week. I say to myself, listen, you got to take one day to relax. Take one day to spend with your kids. You can't get that back, man. I know people want to work hard and make money, but I tell you, if you take the time to find with your kids and you work one day less or something like that, to me, I'm at a stage where I'm trying to work smarter, not harder, and that's what I'm all about, man. By launching businesses and really just spending time with my daughter, because I'm at an age right now where she's 14, where it's almost time. That's it, you know, I'm boring. I'm uncool, and but she still loves me, and you know, we take the time to spend with each other. But it's almost time. I mean, think about it. I was at her. She's going to high school this upcoming year, and we went to a freshman orientation last week, and they asked all the freshmen that are going to be joining them to stand up, and they says, congratulations, we welcome you, we can't wait to have you, and you know, congratulations to the class of 2018. And I said to myself, you know, holy shit, 2018, like this, you know, my daughter's going to go to college then, which is only 4 years away. So, you know, bottom line is, you know, just enjoy the time and follow your dreams and work hard at, you know, businesses and stuff like that. This is just my opinion. And but also find the time to spend with them, because there's only a certain amount of time as they get older.
Yeah, talking about balance, I mean, we got, let's get Edmund in here. Edmund, you're at a barbecue right now, and you're joining us. You're trying to balance all these things out, and you're in a unique position, and this is why I love this panel, because it's such a broad range of experience from a fatherhood standpoint as well as an entrepreneur standpoint. You're still working a full-time 9 to 5, and it's been a year now, maybe a little bit over a year that you've opened up a brick and mortar actual gym, right? So you actually have a physical building that you purchased. You did all the plumbing and all the work. And you have 2 daughters, so why don't you jump in there and tell us, how do you balance all of that? You're like super dad, man.
No, I mean, you know, to me, it's like some of the comments these gentlemen had said earlier. You're just learning as you go. You just keep learning. You know, and there's time for everything. You just got to be able to you know, just prioritize your time. And to me, I mean, all that, right, Joel? Thank you for giving me credit about, you know, what I'm doing. But my number one job is being a dad first to my children. Like, I gotta be there for them before anything else. I mean, yeah, I work and you know, everything's a hustle. You just gotta hustle. But no, first thing and foremost to me is my kids. And you know, the good thing about, you know, the one benefit that I do have with our business is that my partner's with me, right? My wife, that's my other half, that's my other business partner. So for us, you know, the one thing that we have to do the most is communicate with one another. And that's what we're just, you know, I always tell my wife, like, we always got to keep talking. What's good, what's bad, what worked, what didn't work, what can we do different, how is it, you know, and it's great because, you know, with both of us kind of going at it, we share our thoughts, share our ideas. It's funny. Like one example that I have is that I could think of, you know, just hearing everyone talking, was when we first started with our business, and like Joel said, it's a brick and mortar. We were there a lot, like every day, 12 hours, 13 hours. And at one point, you know, we were having someone come stay with our children while we were. I mean, the good thing is we're 5 minutes away from our home, you know, my business. But me and my wife, and we didn't communicate this until later on, but we were both getting like angry and upset, and when we found out that it was because we weren't spending our time with our kids. Someone else was taking care of our kids for, you know, it was for a short period of time. Good thing that we caught on to it and we seen that, but we were both upset. We were both like just ready to pounce on each other, pounce on anything, you know, coming home, rushing the kids. Hey, did you do your homework? Did you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't, you know? But it's because we weren't there. So one thing that we started to do was like, look, you know, we're here at 9 a.m. and at 2 o'clock, we're going to close for a few hours because our classes come back on around 6 o'clock in the evening. But from 2 to 5, we're going to close shop. We're going to go up the street. We're going to go home. We're going to be there when the kids come home from school. We're going to help them out with the homework. We're going to make dinner. We're going to spend that little family time. And then, you know, good thing I have one daughter that, you know, she's 13 years old. So we give them the option. We ask them, hey, do you want to come back with us or do you just want to stay here? And for the most part, you know what? They come with us. They'll say, hey, no, we'll go with you. So they come and they're seeing all, you know, the mistakes that we make, right? The successes that we have. And like, I think, again, like some of you gentlemen said, you know, we're leading. We lead by example. You know, we're their superheroes, right? She's their super mom and I'm their super dad or whatever. But to us, we're just fathers and we're just parents trying to do the best and just trying to be the best parents that we could be. So my number one thing is for my kids. I do everything that I do. I push myself and you know, I hustle as hard as I do at the end of the day for them. Sometimes they're my motivation. It's my kids. So finding that balance, I don't know that perfect balance. And if someone has that formula, please hook me up with it because I need it. Figure it out as I go.
Your startup idea.
So Mike has something great about balance. Mike, you shared something with me about balance a while ago. Why don't you? I think you were trying to jump in and share that with us. Why don't you share that nugget with us? And maybe that'll be a good segue into the entrepreneur aspect of the discussion.
Oh, so the whole thing about balance is I just use the word balancing. And the picture that I look at is, you know, how the Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi had him up in the beach and on doing like the whole crane thing. And when he was doing that, you'd say, well, is he balanced or is he balancing? And the difference is like there's little adjustments that we have to make, and you have to put the energy where it's needed at the time. So if we look at two entities and we say, hey, we wanted balance, we're thinking 50-50. But sometimes it needs to be 60-40 or 70-30. So understanding where energy is needed right now and being able to use balancing instead of just balance, where it's like, I got to put this much time in it right now. I got to put this much. Well, maybe it doesn't need that much right now. So that's my whole thing about balancing versus balance.
Nice. Thank you, Mike. And so I'm going to read something real quick that I found during my research, and I apologize that I didn't capture where this came from. So the person who wrote this, I'll try to find where it came from and give them credits in the show notes. But I'll read this real quick, and I think it'll take us right into our next discussion. And its title is Real Job. Real Job. Most important job is to be a father. As such, if there's ever a question about whether to put your business first or their child first, the answer is always resoundingly child first. Putting children first means that fathers must love their children with purpose, intention, passion, urgency, authenticity, and conviction. So, that was something, that really resonated with me, and I think, a lot of you guys kind of touched upon it in the discussion. Is that the real dad? I keep coming back to this real dad. The real dad. Regardless if you're working in a 9 to 5 or in the discussion that we're having today is being an entrepreneur, you're still putting your children first, right? That's very 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 important. And I love what Edmund talked about in terms of that partnership with his wife and the communication and how they kind of constantly communicating, constantly talking about things and readjusting or balancing, like Mike put it. Now that as we're segueing into the next part of our discussion, the entrepreneur aspect of it and the communication aspect of it, I've been told that Hao had a very unique way of communicating with his wife, his desire to kind of venture into his new business. And Hao, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, and I hope you're willing to share that with us, because I think it was a very very unique and very amazing story that I think some of the entrepreneurs, some of the viewers can kind of take as a lesson.
Yeah, so before I was a co-founder of a startup, I was working a corporate gig as well, and I was, lurking and just going to meetups and saw a lot of pitches, joined a few startups, and, worked at other startups just to see what it was like. And so you see a lot of pitches, and so the way I presented it to my wife that this is what I wanted to do was actually through a PowerPoint deck. And it was set up so, okay, this is where we're at now, and this is our financial situation. This is the opportunity, and this is why I'm passionate about this idea that I want to work on, and where it could lead us in the future. So kind of sharing that vision, kind of just being straight about it. And I know this has only a 10% chance of success, but if we get to the vision, and you need the family support, or else you're just dead in the water from the beginning. So I did a 20-page PowerPoint presentation, all the bells and whistles, and it worked. She got why I was really passionate about this. She got She asked a lot of good questions because the financial situation was, the most worrisome. And so you have to make sure the numbers work, and you're not going to just drive yourself and your whole family into a hole in 6 months. So, yep, that's the way I did it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you
So,
for sharing that. Were you going to say something, Pete?
no, I said that's dope. I like the way you did that, man. I don't know how many wives would, some wives would go crazy, some wives, but like I like the way you convinced me, and I mean I'm not your wife, but
if he's gonna put together a 20-page PowerPoint presentation, he must be serious, right? So that's awesome. So let's I think you touched upon it a little bit. How so you got the financial aspect of things. There's always a question about health insurance. These are the things you start thinking about as a dad, and some of the fears that start to plague dads when it comes to making that decision. Right? There's that passion, there's that desire. I know passion is kind of like overly used. So I'm trying to come up with a different term. Maybe somebody else could throw out something, but there's that desire to leave a legacy, to build something great. But then there's that fear that presents itself, and it presents itself in a number of ways. There's failure, there's the financial aspect of things, there's the health insurance, how are we going to do all these things. Why don't someone jump in and kind of talk about how did you make the decision to, I guess even before having the discussion with your significant other, but how did you make that decision to make that leap? What was it that helped you to make that final decision?
Oh man, that's a great one. I would love to take that one if possible. But for me, the decision was made for me. Working in the corporate atmosphere was great. I had everything I needed: health insurance, access to a whole bunch of books, whatever I needed was there. But something was still missing, and what was missing was me doing things on my own term. So it was I was forced into it because I wasn't going to see the CEO title that I always dreamed of getting. So the only way to become the CEO was to start a company and make it successful. So that was my motivation. And then, of course, leaving the legacy. I love going to my old school and seeing auditorium and seeing the name of the auditorium about somebody else, somebody that left the legacy, like a Rockefeller or something. Like, they would be called the Rockefeller Auditorium. I would love to see the Lopez Auditorium, or this library was made because of the Lopez donation. Like, that would be sick. I think that is pretty dope, leaving a legacy like that.
Or a highway.
Yeah, on a highway. Come on, man. I would love to be, instead of the Tri-Borough Bridge, why don't you call it the James Lopez Bridge? That'd be nice.
Yeah, people would be trying to go through there, not even paying the toll if it was the Lopez.
Oh man, he's Spanish. You don't gotta pay for this.
Yeah, or the mechanics would be going through there like crazy.
That's my cousin.
My cousin owns this bridge. Yeah.
But leaving, that's the way I was forced into it, because I knew I wasn't gonna leave a legacy working under 20 bosses. It just wasn't gonna happen. I wanted to leave that legacy. I came from nothing. I didn't have money. Once the money started pouring in, it was like, oh wow, this is cool, but it's not enough. I need to do something better than this. I want my son telling people, yo, that's my dad. That my dad did that. That's cool. Like, that's what I like.
Awesome. Anybody else want to jump in there?
I think, Joel, on the fear side too, like, all the fears that you mentioned really resonated with me. I think every single one of those things, before I left my job, were concerns of mine. And what I tried to do is sort of take them kind of systematically or objectively. I tried to write them down and this sounds really nerdy and boring, but I tried to quantify each one of them. So I was like, oh man, if I leave my job, I'm not going to have my corporate paycheck anymore. So I just put a number next to it. This is what it's worth. This is what the benefits are worth. And put a single number on paper. This is what I'm walking away from. So it gets a little bit more objective, rather than saying, oh man, I'm going to lose my paycheck, I'm going to lose my health insurance, I'm going to lose this, I'm going to lose that. You can be really specific. Okay, this is exactly what it is. Do I think I can make that doing my own thing, or do I think I can make some percentage of that doing my own thing? And it allowed me to be more take a lot of the emotion out of it. So that's kind of what I did. And I know that other people I've talked to that have done similar things, and it's been helpful. You know, so you can kind of stack up. James, you talked about kind of the benefit side of it, right? So you can stack up the benefit. What's the benefit of doing against what's the risk, and be really kind of objective about it.
Yeah, and then the riskiest thing that you write down, you know, chances are it's gonna be, I might lose my family, I might never have money, I might go homeless. Chances are those things won't happen because you won't let it happen. You're gonna fail, but you're not gonna fail that bad that you're gonna be living out of a car if you have a family. You're gonna find a way to make your movement move, whether that's getting a job at McDonald's or working as a consultant. You're gonna make it happen. So those biggest fears just disappear after a while. You know, it's just not gonna happen. You're not gonna let it happen.
Yeah, I was saying to somebody the other day, James, for some reason I thought of it as, I was talking to somebody that I used to work with when I worked at a company, and I was saying, like, all the challenges that I was dealing with when I worked at the company were challenges that I didn't want to be dealing with. And now that I'm doing my own thing, I'm still dealing with a whole bunch of challenges, but they're the challenges that I do want to be dealing with. You know, and it's just, it's not, you leave your job, you start a company, there's nothing magical about it. You trade one set of issues for another, but hopefully you're dealing with issues that you want to be dealing with, and building something you want to be building, as opposed to building something you don't want to be building. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. So Mike, why don't you share with the audience a little bit about the Be Paid program we went through, you and I, where we kind of looked at the runway. I think it kind of talks to what Brian was saying, kind of making it a little bit more analytical and kind of seeing that path. Why don't you share a little bit about that?
So we went through a program that's called Be Paid, and it's all about people who are side hustlers. So you're working, and at the same time you're building a business. And one of the things that the gentleman spoke about was really the thought of looking at how, you know, if you quit your job, how much money would you need, or how long before you run out of money. So that was what the runway was. Look at your savings, look at how much money you could put away. What is your runway? So you have an actual sense of, you know, when would things change, or when would things go a different direction if your business didn't pick up.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at it and kind of facing that fear. You know, kind of, you know, whether it's analytically kind of putting things together. You know, having that discussion with your spouse, allowing your spouse to have ask as many questions as possible, because I think Howard's kind of touched upon it. If you don't have your spouse there with you, you're gonna fail right out of the gate, right? So you need that support. You know, or as Edmund said, you're kind of like the better half that's kind of there and gonna help keep you going and moving you forward. There's going to be those scary days for sure, but you know, having that person there kind of supporting you helps a lot. We do have another question here from the audience. I'd like to bring that up. Let's see if I could get that one to show.
Hey, Joel, actually, while you're pulling that up, one thing I just wanted to say, it came up a couple times, to just kind of put in a plug for doing a side hustle. You're talking about how to kind of come to terms with quitting your job. I think one of the great ways to do it is to don't go cold turkey, like I've got a job one day and the next day I'm running my own business. Like, can you start something on the side while you do your job? Because you get to kind of prove out your idea before you really need the money. You get to see if you like it, which is a big thing. Before I left my job, I did a side hustle doing pure web development, and one of the things I learned from them is I don't like doing pure web development, so it was good that I wasn't doing that as the company that I started. Yeah, and it reduces your risk. It makes it a lot more comfortable quitting your job when you've actually done it on the side.
Nice.
And I think it kind of plays off of that, because there's a space that needs to be talked about the word entrepreneur, and I think difference between entrepreneur and being entrepreneurial. So there's a sense of like you have to leave your job in order to make things happen. I think there is a movement that kind of looks at what are you trying to accomplish, and can you get that done from where you are. You like where you work, but you want to ratchet things up. So I don't want people listening to think like, oh, I got to quit my job. Oh, man, I don't know anything about that. But it's really about how can you take charge of stuff and make things happen right where you are, you know? So there's being entrepreneurial, I think is another aspect that's still important for people to pay attention to.
Yeah, I think that's very important. And again, maybe I should have set the stage right off the gate, just like I did with setting the stage in terms of what we're talking about from a fatherhood aspect. From an entrepreneur aspect, we're definitely not talking about telling people to go ahead and just quit your job. That's not what we're about, and that's not what we're talking about here at all. Actually, Mike's business, brand inside a brand, it's helping individuals build themselves up or build their brand within the organization that they're in. If they choose to leave and go to another organization, they have that kind of reputation, those networks, those connections that kind of goes along with them. So it's not about just kind of quitting your job cold turkey or making irrational decisions. It's about if you do have that passion and you do want to become an entrepreneur, it is possible, right? As a dad, it is possible. It's not you become a dad and that's the end of your existence or the end of you pursuing your dreams and your goals. It's still possible to do these things, and this panel, that's the reason why I have this wonderful panel here to kind of show you that it is possible. It is challenging. There's a lot of work that's involved in it, but if you put the right systems in place, you have to communicate with your significant other. You can make it happen. So, thank you for bringing that out, Mike. Really appreciate that. So the question that I have, and I think it kind of goes on with what we're talking about here. It says, Joel, question for the panel. Why did each dad choose to become an entrepreneur, and what sacrifices did they need to make in order to become a startup dad entrepreneur? Thanks, Dean Patino, owner of top5percentincome.com and the Fire Starter Company. So I think we kind of talked about some of that a little bit, but anybody else have some additional thoughts that kind of answer that a little bit more? Maybe Edmund, I don't know if you want to jump in there.
Yeah, I was just trying to. What was the? I heard most of it. I'm just trying to process it through my head. What sacrifices did we make? Right? Was that?
Yeah. What sacrifices did you need to make in order to become an entrepreneur dad?
Oh man.
I think the biggest one is time. It's time and putting in the work, right? Because nothing's gonna come. I think we all know. I think everybody knows in this world. I mean, if you want something, you just gotta go out there and get it. I mean, you gotta work at it. Nothing's gonna happen overnight. Nothing's gonna happen tomorrow. I mean, we were talking about, about quitting our job. I mean, I haven't even quit my job yet. I still work my regular job, and I'm just trying to find out the time and just putting in the work and putting in the work. I mean, the sacrifice is the time. The sacrifice is, hey, I can't just go home and just sit on the couch and I'm gonna watch, my favorite shows. I'm gonna watch a couple movies. It's like, okay, I'm done doing this. I gotta go hustle over here and do something else. And I just finished that up, but I gotta think about tomorrow. I mean, there's days. I mean, honestly, for me, the days that I work on my regular job are easier than the days that I'm off because, I mean, doing the personal training, doing the classes, working with my wife. There's days that tomorrow I gotta get up at 3 o'clock in the morning because I got clients as early as 5 a.m. So I gotta be in my shop, getting everything ready, having everything set up, and I'm running all the way till about 9 p.m. You know what I mean? So it's just finding that time, finding that break, and on top of that, I gotta be a dad for my daughters. I gotta be there for them and everything. So it's just learning how to manage your time right and understanding. I think like what Mike had said is figuring out that balancing, right? That balancing act that we have to do to just try to do everything, but not too much over here, not too much over there, putting your right energy somewhere else. So giving up some things that I would rather do, and I might not be able to go to a football game every week, but hey, I'll be able to, at least do it twice throughout the season or something like that, So it's just time. I think to me the biggest thing I had to give up is it's time, trying to figure out that balancing act of what time I need to use for what things. At least that's to me.
No, that's a perfect point. I think with the time also you kind of lose on relationships because now you don't have time to hang out with your friends like you were saying or hang out with other friends. So now you got to really take that time and use it for the business or for the family. So a lot of people won't like that after a while. You know, you'll lose a lot of friends that you used to hang out with all the time, or you'll lose family members simply because you can't spend all that time that you used to have with them. So you're gonna lose a couple relationships along the way also.
That's important. That's important. Thank you for mentioning that, James. Yeah, there are some big sacrifices that that we're making all the time. Let's talk about some of the because I want to make sure that dads that are watching have some things to take away from this show, and let's talk about what are some of your time hacks, if you will. What are some of your tricks and tips that you're using right now? Whether it's an app, whether it's there was a wonderful picture that Mike posted on Facebook. I wish I could bring it up. But he was working on his business, and he had Emerson in a what was that, Mike? What
Baby Ergo, I think it's called Ergo Baby, whatever that carrier is.
Yeah, we're plugging in Ergo Baby here, so Ergo Baby, you gotta give us some a while. But he had Ergo Baby, he had Emerson in the Ergo Baby. Then he was kind of like up on his wall, kind of doing some work, right, getting after it. So, what are some of the tips and tricks and hacks that you guys have for time management?
I don't know if it's a hack. One of the things that I do is I try to choose. I haven't done it recently, which shows sort of the level of productivity I've had recently. But what I try to do is choose one thing a day that's the most important thing, just from a business perspective, and do that first. Because usually the most important thing is something that I'm not particularly interested in doing. It's like sales stuff or marketing stuff, which for me isn't my favorite. So I usually do that right up front.
Okay, cool.
I guess for me, sorry, James. I guess for me is like one thing I try to do is almost plan ahead, right? So if I know that I have things that I got to do tomorrow, so can I set up some things? Can I put some things in place? So for me, my perfect example is back to the personal trainer, right? That's what I do. So back to the personal training. I know that I got to be there early tomorrow, but can I go tonight and set some things up, have everything all set, have the have my schedule laid out? Okay, I got it. So that's just one less half hour, 45 minutes less that I don't have to worry about that. So almost just trying to be ahead of it a little bit, right? Just get a head start on it and work on it a little before instead of waiting for the day of almost. So that's my little trick. And every time I do it, the day just goes smooth. And when I don't, I'm running around a little bit more wilder and stuff like that. So but that's just what I do.
Yeah, I mean, I do the same thing. I list down a couple things I think about my week ahead, and then I list down 3 of the priorities every day that needs to get done. And if I can knock out 1 or 2 of them, then that third one will go to the next day. But I also make sure that third one that went to the next day gets done first before everything else. If it doesn't get done first, then that means it wasn't important. It gets trashed. So I stick to that.
All right, cool. Great.
One of the things from a time perspective I found myself doing, because the business I'm doing is fairly new, as well as I was about to say managing Emerson, but raising Emerson, and I found myself getting upset, but a good upset. Like if I'd go get a haircut in the middle of the day, and the guy would never ever be on time. There's always a backup. I was like, you know what? No more haircuts during the week. Only on weekends. Like just little things. Certain people may call you, and the calls are never like 2 minutes long. It's just being like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to call. Everything is like after 5. So it's just paying attention to where you're spending your time. That's one of the things. I don't know if it's considered a hack, but just really paying attention and moving things to outside of business hours.
I agree with that. I'll tell you, Mike, have you started Emerson's bow tie collection yet, or no?
Not necessarily started, but I did a collabo with someone who makes onesies with bow ties on them.
I like it. I like it. I'm gonna call you. I'm gonna forever remember you as the bow tie connoisseur. That's what I'm gonna call you.
I'm putting the link to the bow tie flow on the side there.
I don't like it.
Hey, Pete, how do you deal with all the different projects, Pete? Because you have the combat, you got sneaker tools, you got to eat this. How do you separate that time, man?
Great question.
You see them gray hairs? Hold up. You see like this? Okay.
We got HD.
I was listening to a lot of what you guys said, and I feel like there's a lot of similarities there. I try to do routine, but I also try to tackle the things like he was saying, like tackle the things I don't want to do first. I have a schedule, but there's always something that comes up. I always look at it like having reserve money. Like when money, because you never know what happens. Or something like if something happens. I look at it like that. But scheduling for me is very tough, man, and because I do so many different things. I have projects that are to be taken care of, like through conference calls, through online. But I also have places I have to be. So and then also my daughter goes to dance, and for almost 8 years already. So she's in competition. So it's a lot of running around. But what I find myself doing is finding the little time I have to do certain things and really making time for the important things first. So that's what I find. I mean, I bring my daughter to the dance class. Sometimes I'll watch her for half of it, and then the rest of the time they're doing something else. I'll take that time to catch up on some emails. Or if I'm waiting for her outside on a certain thing, I'll catch up on emails or I'll catch up on conference calls. I mean, it's a lot of multitasking, man. But I really, to tell you the truth, man, with all this stuff, I'm really just trying to put the phone down a lot more in my life, man. I have so many social media things, man. So many different things I do. I mean, we have a weekly podcast that is very popular. Everybody's hitting you up, and I feel like I got to answer everybody, and I want to take the phone and throw it against the wall because, to be honest with you, I'm wrapped up in it, and I need some time. And I promise you, I'm really thinking of powering down for a couple of days and getting away from the internet totally, and my phone. So, I want to try to do that. I want to challenge myself. So forget about my scheduling. I want to try to challenge myself to do things that I feel are right, but just a little bit different.
All right, great. We do have so we're running out of time here, and we do have another audience question. I want to make sure I get to as many of the audience questions as possible, and maybe Pete, you could continue and jump off on this question. What's the biggest drawback to independent business ownership? Is the question. What's the biggest drawback?
Depending what you're doing, I would say not having the money, taking time to earn money. It's not like a lot of businesses I have done. Like, I'll give you an example. I started a food blog. Me and Bun B, the rapper, was a good friend of mine. We started a food blog, and we got a bunch of writers and people involved to do some dope stuff. But and we're on the Complex Media Network, which is full of sites that make tons of money. But we got on as brand new. Usually sites go on there, as they're established. And so we didn't have really any traffic, or we're brand new. So I would say, as starting like that business, it's like I feel like it take time to make money. So a drawback for me would be sacrificing and having to wait. I mean, which is normal for a lot of businesses, but it's just I'm in a lot of advertisement business, so it takes time. So I would say like a drawback for me has been to really just sacrifice and really just try to wait until the right time to be able to do things. And that's it for me.
Yeah. All right, thank you. And how would you answer that?
I think the greatest drawback is also the greatest opportunity. There's no rule book that says, okay, this is how you get from point A to point B. You have to make it up as you go. So you get to basically design your life how you want it to be. Some people, they just want a, handbook on, okay, how do I live? And other people, they want to explore. So if you're the explorer type, that's an opportunity.
Nice. Yeah, I love that a lot. And I think especially the entrepreneurial spirit, right, is the explorer type, right? You're okay with not having that guidebook. You're okay with the unknown, and you want to kind of explore and not explore with some intention, right? I think with like you taking the time to put the 20-page PowerPoint together, Brian kind of rationalizing how the math is going to work, and the BPay program that Mike and I kind of went through is trying to make sure that things are in order, and we're not just leaping into it without any kind of thought process. But it's still very unknown. I mean, just building my website, it was crazy trying to figure out WordPress and how this whole thing works. And that was one of the things with the Startup Dad why I did the soft launch in April, was to kind of give everyone the opportunity to kind of see where I was at that time with the website, with the lighting, with all this kind of stuff, because it's very scary when you see the people who have already made it. I think to Pete's point with time, like there's certain people you see that already made it, and you figure, how can I possibly ever get to there, right? Like, this person was lucky, this person had a lot of money, but we never see the person. We never hardly go back and see where did this person really start from. What challenges they actually go through. And it is a lot of work. And I think that a lot of time that's kind of missed, and people kind of look for that quick payoff, if you will.
That's a great point, because I think people nowadays with Instagram and social media in general, I think they see people start businesses or people buying things, or people having things, and they think that that I think it's simple. I'm not saying, but I believe some people think it's simple. Like it's they don't see the hard work and the blood and the sweat and the tears. Like even like Edmund. I mean, I don't know you, but you seem like a guy who has put in a lot of work, man, and into your business, and people don't see that. They see the store, your place of business up and running. They don't realize that. The behind the scene things, or maybe when you painted it, or maybe you missed a certain, so, like I said, especially with social media, it's so easy. I mean, like, people see me, I mean, I do a bunch of things. I mean, I'm with a lot of different celebrities every week, and they think I don't have to work or something like that. I got to do way more, to stay survive. Just because I'm with somebody, just because you see I have a business, just because it doesn't mean everything's okay. It took a lot to get there, and you know what? It takes even more to keep going. So.
Great.
Yeah, one other thing too, Joel, that comes to mind too is, like, I feel like in our society, at least right now, like, entrepreneurship is really celebrated, which is a great thing. But there's also this perception that I don't know, that everybody should aspire to be entrepreneurial or start a business or whatever, and it's. Mike, I think you said, like, there's a whole bunch of different ways you can, make money in this world. I mean, you can be an employee, you can be a freelancer, you can be a consultant, you can be a coach, you can start an agency, you can do a startup. Like, these are all different things, and it depends on what you want as an individual and what where your interests lie and what you want out of life. There's no single thing that's no single way that's better than another way. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like in some ways that's kind of the hardest thing, is coming to terms with what actually is a good fit for you. I know sort of in the business that I'm in, consulting, there's having a bigger agency is considered, quote unquote, better than being a solo person. But I know a lot of people that are solo people that are very happy doing it that way, and they don't have any desire to get bigger. And you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay. James, I think you were saying earlier, like, you get a lot of criticism no matter what business you're in, and I think you have to be okay with just saying, like, this is how I want to do it. This is how I'm gonna go forward, and sort of letting the criticism just sort of fall aside.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I think that's one of the biggest drawbacks that everybody needs to be aware of, that when you start out, nobody's going to be on your page, man.
Right.
You gotta earn that. Like nobody's gonna respect the idea. Nobody's gonna respect why you're doing it. You know, you just have to show and prove. And then after a while, you start making friends. Like everybody on this panel, like everybody here is, I consider a friend, and I'm able to talk to you guys more openly than I'm able to talk to some of my childhood friends. And it didn't come out of nowhere. I had to prove myself first. And
Well,
now
they won't see a vision sometimes, childhood friends, you know.
yeah.
They, you know, like I go through that a lot too. Like they don't understand, you know. But that's why I always say you got to believe in yourself more than the people that believe in you. You know, like and you know, because a lot of those young childhood people, they can't see, like they can't see Brian, you know, sitting home and working and making more money than them. You know, they just can't see that. They don't really see the vision sometimes. And I like the way he touched on that. You know, being an entrepreneur is not for everyone, and it doesn't mean that you're less or more of a person. You know, you do what fits you, and you do what you like, and you enjoy life.
And don't knock each other. Don't knock each other for the places. You know,
No,
like,
but the internet will always knock someone. I mean, okay, right now we could give away a S550 Benz, okay, and I don't know, a black S550 Benz, and I swear to you, someone would complain about the color. And instead of realizing that they just got a $150,000 car for free. That's the internet for you. But hey.
That's life right there.
That's life. So that's perfect segue. So to the last component of Startup Dad, right? So we talked about the fatherhood, the business, and now the life aspect. And we're kind of touching upon it throughout the entire conversation, but there's some specific questions. We have actually one audience question here. How do you balance the personal time and not get back into work? Right? How do you balance that personal time and not get back into work? It's so, especially as an entrepreneur, I know with me, you know, I have the soft launch and the full launch, and you know, every spare time that I have that I'm not spending with my family, I'm trying, or at work, I actually still work my 9 to 5 as well. I'm hacking away on the website, just trying to figure out a blog and how to do podcasting and all these other things that you need to do. How do you stay focused on being present, right, at the moment, being present and enjoying the moment, and not, I think how Pete mentioned earlier, not jumping on your phone and getting on Facebook or email or thinking that, hey, I have to do something business related. How do you separate those two things?
I mean, a good question to ask yourself is, the thing that you're doing at that moment, is it valuable to your business or is it valuable to your life? If it doesn't fit in one of those two things, then maybe you shouldn't do it. Like I treat it that way. If I'm gonna jump on a phone call with somebody like Gary Vaynerchuk, then I know that yes, that's gonna help me, but it's also gonna help my business. Now, if one of my friends call me and they want to argue about, you know, NBA Jam or the Heat losing to the Spurs, that doesn't do anything for business or for my life because I don't care about any team. So you got to figure out what makes sense, right? And then just do those things. If it doesn't make sense, then why do them? Your time is very limited.
Yeah. Mike, why don't you jump in there with as a new dad? How are you finding? You were sharing with me that you know, your wife is going to be heading back to work in a couple of days, actually in two days now. Yeah. And now you're going to be kind of like Mike, the entrepreneur, and Mike, stay-at-home dad at the same time. How are you? What are your plans to kind of balance or do the balancing act?
There's no plan yet. There's no plan yet. It's like I'm on some more like I don't know why, like some kung fu figures coming to me where you all going lightning fast and he's just like blocking like this. Wow. Yeah, I'm on some old Tai Chi stuff and seeing what is it like, and then where's the room to dance? Okay, when is he going to bed? When is he not going to bed? Okay, well if it changes, what can I do? Okay, well if I record something in advance and put it out for people, that works better than me doing stuff live because little Emerson is calling. So there's this. I don't have the answer to that yet. It's just I just have some theory about what's going to happen, but I don't have the answer to that yet.
Mike, you like
next question, please. Next question, please.
You watch a lot of Kung Fu, huh, Mike?
I was watching Kill Bill not too long ago.
Nice. Let's talk about as entrepreneurs, this panel, it seems like you guys, this is again getting into the life aspect of things, so a little bit off the fatherhood and the business, but how do you guys stay fit? I think that's a very important thing as an entrepreneur, kind of finding that time to work out or to go running or to meditate or to to pray. How do you guys find how do you guys prioritize that and kind of get that into the day, before you get started?
Edmund, you should answer that. You're the workout guy,
In
right?
fact, you should tell us how we do it, Edmund.
I'm failing over here, man.
To me, it's funny. Working out is my job, really. So that's just part of it. But honestly, it's all it takes is a half an hour, really. I mean, you got to hit the gym. Like when I go to the gym and when I work out, Joel, we worked out together. Mike, we worked out together. It's like I go in, I do my thing. I really try not to talk to people. Just go. I know what I'm gonna bang out. I'm gonna bang it out. I'm in the gym half an hour, 45 minutes, and that's all it really takes, right? So, and I'm not there 7 days a week, 6 days a week, sometimes not even 5 days a week. But I just try to make that gym time as efficient as possible. So I just try to hit it hard. So when I go in there, I ain't playing. I'm not gonna be, hey, it's not social hour. I'm going in. It's just like our business, right? We go in there, we take care of what we gotta take care of, and get out because we got a bunch of other stuff to do. So I don't need to be at the gym for 2 hours. I don't even need to be at the gym for an hour. Give me a half an hour, and a lot of my sessions, my personal training sessions, people want them sweet and hard. So that's what I do. My sessions, a majority of my clients are for half-hour sessions. I get them in. I beat the crap out of them for that half hour. They leave, hurting, crawling out of it like, holy crap. But then, they're thankful for it. They're like, wow, I would have never been able to do that on my own. But so to me, it's like, again, right, it's my job to work out almost. That's how I see it. So to me, I have to stay fit, right? Because who wants a chubby trainer? Nobody, right? Nobody wants a chubby trainer.
That's a new niche, man. That's a new niche. That's a new niche.
That's a new niche. Chubby trainer.
Chubby trainer.
And the other part of it is the eating right? I mean, don't get me wrong. I always tell people it's not that I never eat pizza. It's not. I mean, I'm at a barbecue right now, So right after this, I'm gonna go have a burger. But I don't do it all the time. It's once in a while. Or hey, you know what? With that burger, I might not add all those condiments, or I'm not gonna ask for the cheese on it or anything like that. So it's just about portion control and stuff like that. So the eating it's more important than the working out. So because that just goes 24/7. But like I said, the working out part, really, you could get a badass workout in a half an hour. So I mean, you could find the time for it, right? Instead of sitting down and watching that TV show, go hit the gym or go for a quick run or something like that, and all it takes is a half an hour to get those calories burnt, and that's it. So, that's my
speaking about eating and barbecues, I know we've been going on for about an hour, almost an hour and a half here. Let's start to wrap this up, and I want to give everyone an opportunity to just kind of any information you want to share about yourself. This is just the start of the conversation. Definitely looking to have each one of these individuals back onto the show and kind of going in depth into their story, kind of going into their toolbox, tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff. But why don't you guys quickly share, where folks can find you, your website, any information that you wanna share. Why don't we start off with James? Why don't you kick it off?
Okay, for sure. So to find me, it's pretty simple. You can go to thefatstartup.com. That's the PHAT startup.com. There we have all of this educational material for aspiring entrepreneurs that love hip hop like me. So definitely come visit there. And my Twitter is a little bit longer. It's I'm James J. Lopez, but you can find that on the site. Anyway, I'm super accessible. Go to the site and you could always find me. There's always a way to catch me that way.
Don't you have a conference coming up?
Oh yeah, we have a conference with. Thank you for reminding me, man. Look at that plug right there. We actually have a conference with NYU, which is going to be about entrepreneurship. Looking through the hip hop lens, and that's November 21st, and that should be really really dope. It's called Tech 808. So it's for people that love hip hop, that wanna take their passions and actually create a business around it. And it's sponsored by NYU, so it gets no better.
Nice. Yeah, we'll definitely have that the link in the show notes for that. so that folks can find out more about that and get tickets. Is there tickets? James?
Yeah, man. Yep, it's ticketed event, limited to 400 people. Right now, there's an early bird sale for $200. I guarantee you, in 2 weeks, it won't be anywhere near $200 anymore, as all my friends are bashing me for that price, saying it's too cheap.
So they can find out some information right now if they go to the fatstartup.com, right?
Yep, thefatstartup.com / tech808. So that's TECH and then the numbers 808.
Okay, and I'll definitely get that in the show notes.
Thank you.
Yeah, so Pete, why don't you go ahead and tell everyone a little bit and before we head out?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. That's what I use the most, at Premium Pete. I got a lot of things I do. I'll quickly go over them, but I like to say Twitter and Instagram because you'll see what's going on throughout the everyday. It's kind of, like I said, I have a food site. It's called YouGottaEatThis.com. It's basically recipes. It's different, restaurants and dishes, and we also have different videos and stuff like that. So it's all about food and all food related. And so there's a section where you could submit your own food and what you ate. So that's pretty popular on that page. That people from all around the world submit what they ate. So I feel like food will never get played out. So I think it's a good business to be in. Also I have a sneaker site. It's called SneakerTube.tv. It's like a user-generated video site that's focused on people upload videos of product events and reviews and stuff like that. And also, you can catch me on this podcast. It documents the hip hop culture. It's called the Combat Jack Show. I'm one of the co-hosts, and we have about 200 episodes or more. With everybody in the game you can mention and think of. And it's the little podcast that could. And I'm proud to be a part of it. It's independent, and it's starting to become worldly recognized, and I'm excited to be a part of it. But like I said, catch me at Premium Pete, Instagram or Twitter, and like I said, my email to any of you guys. Thanks for having me. Thanks for I'm inspired to hear your stories, and I just like the sense of humor, the personality that all you guys have, man.
All right, thanks, Pete. Thanks for being here. Edmund, I know you're at the barbecue. Why don't you go in and let everyone know where they can find you?
Yeah, so you definitely find me at relaxercisefitnessspa.com. That's my website. Facebook, we have a Facebook site, but also, like Joel said, I'm a brick and mortar, so I'm at 1445 Main Street in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. So that's actually where my location is. We have variety services there. Like I said, fitness is just one part of it. It really, the fitness part what we concentrate on are for people that don't want to go to the big gyms, right? People that are kind of starting off, like those beginners, people that don't want to go to those 30, 40 class, a class that has 30 to 40 people. So we prioritize it, and we do a smaller classes. So it's more personalized with the instructors and stuff like that. We also have spin bikes in there, and then the spa part, right? So manicures, pedicures, massages, facials, spray tanning, and stuff like that. So those are the things we do. So we're trying to incorporate the whole thing, the whole health part, right? Where it's exercise, but also taking care of yourself too, and making you and pampering yourself, right? Finding everything for you. But yeah, so you can hit us up on our webpage, relaxercisefitnessspa.com, or on Facebook and stuff like that. And if you're in town, you're in Mass, 1445 Main Street in Tewksbury. That's where I'm at. Thank you.
Yeah, Edmund, we're waiting for the online instructor courses, right? You're coming out with those.
Yeah, I'm trying to start up online personal training as well. So that should be coming up pretty soon. Just trying to work on that. Trying to find the time, the balancing. Like we were talking about earlier, so I'm trying to balance myself to put some more time into that as well. But I'll definitely be getting ready to start up an online personal training as well. So helping out, kind of giving you my thing on that would just be kind of giving you workouts, coaching you through the workouts, meeting people once or twice a week online, and then just kind of helping you out with the nutrition aspect as well, breaking it down, what to eat, what not to eat, and stuff like that. How many calories do you really need to take for whatever your goals are and stuff like that. But thanks, Joel. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So why don't we jump over to How? How, why don't you talk a little bit about where folks can find you?
Yeah, I live in the neighboring town to Edmond in Wilmington, Mass, and I work in Somerville, Mass. And if you're local, I'd love to grab coffee or tea. If not, you can reach me online. My email is how@apitronics.com. I'm happy to talk about startup life. If you're into farming, I'm working at the intersection of agriculture and technology. And my Twitter is @bitfaker, BITFAKER.
Nice. Brian?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Joel. So like I said earlier, my consulting business helps companies build world-class operations. So what I found back in the day when I started it and still see it is companies have these big initiatives like launching products or scaling or acquiring new businesses, and they need a real operational expertise to support those initiatives, and that's what my company does, helps them build those operations out. So you can find me online at shayconsulting.biz. That's my business site, and I also write a blog at brian-shay.com. That's it.
Nice. And last but not least, Mike Ambassador Bruni.
Hey,
The
so you
folks
can
find you.
well, you can find me at ambassadorbruni.com. You can find me, same thing, well, Ambassador Bruni, Twitter, Instagram, all those other places, YouTube. And mention as far as what I do is really help people with personal branding. You know, people who are working and they're tired of just working for other companies and building their brands without working on their own personal brand. So you can hit me up there. I'll see you there. Thanks again, Joel, for having me.
Yeah, thank you guys again. Happy Father's Day to you all. I look forward to having you guys back on the show again and kind of going into your specific stories. It was a great chat. Really appreciate your time. I know taking your time away from your families and the events you guys got going on, especially on Father's Day. So I really do appreciate it. This has been Joel Lewis, Startup Dad Headquarters, and we've officially launched. So. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
All right, presents over present all day.
Thanks, guys.
All right, have a good one.